Everybody. I want to talk about something that happened today that was really, really important, but I didn't want to take up any time in class. The House of Representatives, along Republicans' only vote, voted today on a second try to repeal the Affordable Care Act, which we know as Obamacare. This is a very controversial vote, and it's very controversial for a couple different reasons. Now, Republicans, of course, pledged to do it, but they did it without the input of the Congressional Budget Office. Now, you might be thinking, who cares about that? However, the Congressional Budget Office is responsible for scoring every bill. They tell us how much it costs. They tell us who it affects. They tell us who wins, who loses. They tell us if it runs a deficit or not. And if you're talking about a bill that involves health care, which is 1/6 of the American economy, it is really, really irresponsible to pass a gigantic bill this consequential that will affect life and death matters for hundreds of millions of Americans without Congress's budget office saying, hey, it'll cost this much. These people will be hurt from it. These people will benefit from it. So that's where we're at right now. Now, this current bill is even more conservative than the last one. It gets rid of the individual mandate, replaces it with a surcharge if you have a lapse in coverage, and it cuts back on Medicaid. 20 million people in the last bill were at risk of losing their health insurance. That'll be a similar number this time around. Matter of fact, it may even be bigger, because this bill also removes people with pre-existing conditions from the same insurance pools that the rest of us are in and puts them in what's called high-risk pools, where they will likely see their health insurance rates spike by hundreds of percentages, hundreds of percent. Now, it'll also cut Planned Parenthood, which does perform abortion, but also provides lots of health insurance, health services for women, and a lot of the gender inequality fixes that Obamacare put in action, the Republican replacement plan will likely get rid of. So, this is a big win for President Trump. But this barely passed in the House of Representatives, and it's very, very conservative. I won't go as far as say it's radical, but I mean it's going right up against it. It's very, very conservative. Now, the Senate's not as conservative as the House. The Senate will likely shoot this down or reform it to make it more moderate, and if that's the case, who knows if it'll pass in the Senate, or who knows if it'll pass back in the House, is what I'm saying. But that's not the vote that Republicans need to be worried about in the House. The vote that Republicans need to be worried in the House about is not in the Senate, but in 2018, when Americans, understanding the vastly irresponsible and really, really aggressive, even regressive moves that Republicans just made in the House, Americans will show up to vote in the midterms, and we'll see if Americans punish Republicans or reward them.